Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk to you about judgment. So I want to talk about our relationship to judgment and how this actually impacts us overall. So first and foremost, we all judge. Okay, we all have this judgment based mind. It actually comes from our conditioning. It comes from literally the system of punishment and reward. So you grow up in a system and you get socialized into a system where you're punished for doing things wrong and rewarded for doing things right. Which, when we really look more deeply at this stuff, it's like just a whole bunch of collective agreements we have that we've bought into and invested in, and so then we abide by that system of right, wrong, good, bad. And listen, I do believe that there's like morals and values and things we have to do right and wrong, but I also believe that a lot of mistakes are born of trauma, and that when we judge, there's a lot of sort of challenges that can arise. So, I really believe in the importance of working on our relationship with judgment and really actually like deconditioning a lot of it. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you like sort of five or so key reasons that judgment actually hurts us more than it hurts anybody else, and why it's so important. So whenever we have this like relationship to judgment where we find ourselves judging excessively, and by the way, there's a big difference between judgment and discernment, right? Judgment is like looking at something and making a judgment. Discernment is like, this is a situation. Is this healthy or unhealthy for me? Is it good or bad for me? And it really has like us put in the context and how the situation may affect us. And sometimes we have to be discerning, to be careful, to be cautious, to be aware, to be insightful. But judgment is a very different story. Now, the first thing that I sort of want to point out here is whenever we judge anybody, we project our own ignorance onto that person. In reality, if we look at anybody, doesn't matter who they are, if we had the exact same genetic predisposition and the exact same childhood experiences as they did, we would be pretty much in the same spot as they are, right? So it's just important to recognize that when we judge people, we see like a tip of the iceberg. We see people in their low moments and their worst moments on a bad day, and we make this little tiny piece of the puzzle of who they are become the whole puzzle. And to be quite honest, respectfully, it's just quite ignorant. So it's important for us to become a little bit aware of that. And the reason for this is something really, really powerful. Well, judgment, and something you should know, is we judge what we fear and what we don't understand, which basically makes you fear it, right? Whatever we can't understand creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates fear. And then we try to fill in the blanks through judgment as a subconscious strategy to get some kind of certainty and to feel safe. And the mind is also a little bit wired that way. So when you take the punishment reward system we grew up in and you combine it with the mind's desperate need for certainty, we have judgment. So judgment is basically born of fear and conditioning. But when you judge, and when you're in this like excessive space of always judging, of thinking of things, of even like things like gossiping, right? Whenever we're in a space of gossiping and judging, we attack ourselves. And what I want you to look at is like, let's say you judge somebody, you're walking by, you're like, oh, this person's doing that thing. They're this type of person. I can't believe they're doing that. As soon as we do that, we get into a state emotionally and neurochemically where we're in distress. So we have this attack thought or judgment against somebody else. And really, we're just attacking ourselves because that person's over there, like minding their own business, doing whatever they're doing. We make that judgment. We actually have a visceral response. We have a neurochemical reaction that usually is like cortisol related and stress related. Sometimes, if we're really stressed, we make really fierce judgments. Then we we actually get into a space where we're in like sympathetic nervous system mode, like fight or flight mode. And then we proceed to tell this whole narrative to ourselves about how they should be acting and how they should be. And we're here in that moment in hell in a way, right? We're all distressed, we're all fired up, we're all worried, and they're over there carrying on. And so, I want us to recognize when we get into that mind state a lot throughout the day, that's the type of output we have. We get stressed, we feel it emotionally, we feel it neurochemically. And then the other part of this is that the mind is playing God, right? The mind is saying, I should be this person who literally decides how everybody around me should act and react. And when they're not acting according to my expectations, I'm going to make a judgment. And it's kind of a hilarious thing. Like we literally think that person should be doing it this way, that person should be doing that thing. And it's just the mind trying to create certainty again. But it's this like funny little thing. It's like kind of this like immaturity of the mind when it's doing that. Where like who says by any means everybody in your life should be abiding to, your expectations and should be the character in your story. Like it's kind of a ridiculous thing when you actually think about it. And so you can save yourself a lot of stress and time by actually working on your relationship to judgment. And then the very last thing that hurts us about judgment of others is that we also get into a position where if we're always judging, we keep this like perception reinforced that the world is full of judgment. If we're always judging people, we expect subconsciously, because we all project from our perspective, we expect subconsciously that everybody else is running around judging, judging, judging. And that creates a scary world for us to live in. Our perceptual worldview is like this big scary world. So what I highly recommend is actually doing some work around your relationship to judgment, actually doing some work on like looking for the sponsoring intention behind people's actions, recognizing and witnessing when you're in a position expecting everybody else to be the character in your story, and practicing like disidentifying from that, sort of not getting too attached to that, and trying to understand, okay, why are people doing what they're doing? And I don't mean to justify bad actions. We can still set boundaries with people in our lives if they're unhealthy, or if we don't like what somebody's doing, we should absolutely speak up about it. But I mean, like, let's get into a position in our lives where we see the intention behind things and we take that into consideration, and we don't terrorize ourselves with this incessant judgment about everybody else, and then we still communicate our boundaries at the same time. So if you want to do a deep dive into some of this work, it's a very powerful topic. I have an entire boundaries course around this and actually helping to work through these pieces. You can check it out. I'll put a link in the description box below. It's inside the Personal Development School. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.